on live right now. You good, Elmo? We good. We fired up. You here, I'm here. Education is elevation. Research over me search. It's your boy, George Lee, aka Consciously. Don't forget the Lee. Don't forget the Lee. You know, you can find me at theconsciously.com. I do workshops, facilitations. Hey, after y'all see how I intellectually school this young fella about what we about to get on, y'all might want to reach out to me and see, like, man, that young fella right there in relationship to myself, he got something going on. This Conscious Conversations is about homosexuality in Africa. This conscious conversation is about homosexuality in Africa. Hey, listen, I'm about to get off live on TikTok. Right now, I'm in Atlanta. You feel me? Right now, I'm in Atlanta. And you know what I'm saying? I'm just showing y'all right here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, hey, listen, y'all go over there. I got y'all. I'm finna get off this live right here. The Consciously on YouTube is where y'all go to. But this is how we're gonna start this right now. I'm gonna give them people a little time to come over there, come over here from TikTok. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, education is elevation. The purpose of this video is to talk about the multiplicity of blackness of black people in the community, right? So when I talk about the multiplicity, it's like, how can you account for black people that's not just intimate in the ways that you are intimate? You see what I'm saying? There is a lot of misinformation on the internet that you know has a parasitic impact. It literally impacts black people badly when y'all push this misinformation about sexuality and gender, specifically about the LGBT community, not the white people, the black LGBT community. When y'all talk about this Hebrew Hotepian idea that this, that, and that that's what we're getting into. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're getting into. How we gonna do it is I'm gonna still give people a little bit of time to come over here to catch this live 4K. You feel me? King Jacuzza. You know what I'm saying? I hope I'm saying brother name right. God had the nerve to really, you know, challenge me. And I happen to be a debater. I like a good intellectual spar. So without further ado.
COE. Cool. This for anyone who thought I'd ever fall off. 50 points with no assist, bitch, I'm a ball house. I got millionaires all inside my call out. If you don't like me, bitch, delete me, nigga, log off. They go for all y'all. I mean, damn, duh. I'm saying, duh, why these niggas always playing, duh?
Yeah. So what we're getting into today is a conscious conversation concerning the history of Africa before invaders, before colonizers, about how different cultures and tribes around the continents of Africa practice sexuality and gender. To make sure I'm not doing no capping like Jacuzza did, you feel me, with how he edited the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play for y'all his video in its totality, and I'm only going to pause rhetorically just to tell y'all to remember these points. And then I'm going to bust it with this old PowerPoint that I put together. It's going to refer to every argument that he makes in this video that I'm about to show y'all, every argument that he makes about, you know, sexuality, about gender. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be answered right here. Oh, what is right here?
So let's get into this video that Consciously made in response to mine about homosexuality in Africa. Pay close attention to the points where he's gripped with confusion. I'll make sure to pause the video and clear everything up, but let's get into it. When will we stop acting like homosexuality was praised in Africa before invaders came? Because it was not. For those who are hard of hearing, please notice I never said that homosexuality didn't exist at all, yet it was not praised. If it came out that you were committing homosexual acts, you either killed or exiled.
That distinction is going to be very important for this video. That distinction, this distinction between, did he say praise or did he say existence? And what did I say in response? That's going to be very important for this video, especially when we're talking about debate and point-for-point refutation.
Here are all the places in Africa where homosexuality is still illegal and even holds a death penalty. And we can't say it's because of the homophobic white man, because in places like Benin, Africa, they came in and made it legal. How do you come in and make something legal if it isn't already illegal? The rise of homosexuality started with Arab traders coming into Africa. In Uganda, they call them Akulia Ebiziagi. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But anyway, homosexuality, I'm guessing that face means if you mispronounce a word, that makes the information false. But anyway.
I also want you to pay attention. How much arguments is he making against my facial expressions, and how many arguments is he making against the actual points that I made with substance?
I thought your catchphrase was research over me search, so I'm kind of flabbergasted that you didn't come across these .orgs and a couple EDUs down below. Here's a conversation between...
Y'all heard his bright line for a credible source is .org and .edu. That's also going to be important.
Professors on the topic of pre-colonial homosexuality.
This is an email from professors. That's important.
Professor says while living in Africa, he raised the topic with his African friends to be told empathetically that homosexuality never existed among the Bantu. One professor claims his information on the Baganda in Uganda shows that homosexuality began with the advent of Arab traders, and the act was henceforth referred to as Akulia and Biziagi. Right here it says the Baganda referred to homosexuality as Akulia and Biziagi. If they had known about homosexuality before the arrival of Arabs, why was there no Lugandan concept for it? Anyway, homosexuality in Africa was also associated with the rise of prisons, which was a result of European colonialism. Before colonizers came, prison was not a thing in Africa. In Africa, the focus was reconciliation and mending good relations. That little face you making killing me, because it says incarceration as a punishment was unknown to Africa when the first Europeans arrived. Our pre-child detention was common. Wrongdoing was rectified by restitution.
Oh shit, fucking up.
If they had traders coming into Africa, one professor claims his information on the Baganda in Uganda shows that homosexuality began with the advent of Arab traders, and the act was henceforth referred to as Akulia and Biziagi. Right here it says the Baganda referred to homosexuality as Akulia and Biziagi. If they had known about homosexuality before the arrival of Arabs, why was there no Lugandan concept for it? Anyway, homosexuality in Africa was also...
Y'all really tagged me 50,000 times as if this was fire? As if this was that Zah and his mids, is Reg?
Associated with the rise of prisons, which was a result of European colonialism. Before colonizers came, prison was not a thing in Africa. In Africa, the focus was reconciliation and mending good relations. That little face you making killing me, because it says incarceration as a punishment was unknown to Africa when the first Europeans arrived. Our pre-child detention was common. Wrongdoing was rectified by restitution rather than punishment. This is the same thing said in the emails of the professors. At the bottom, it says homosexuality in some parts of Africa have been associated with prisons, obviously part of European colonialism. Both of them got .org at the end, so if you need the link, let me know. It always confused me how European boy lovers brought homophobia to Africa. Look who brought homophobia to Africa, y'all. Just look. Just look. That's them right there. That's them.
Pictures of Romans.
Yes, sir. Those are the ones that y'all claim brought homophobia to Africa. That's them. We talking about the same people who took our men to butt-breaking camps because they said that was the only way they could get a man to submit to them, which is very homosexual. Are you trying to act as if butt-breaking camps did not happen? Because your face is throughout this.
This going to be a key point of my PowerPoint too. Y'all keep this point in mind that he say right here.
This whole video has just been, throwing me off. Are you trying to get people to believe these things are not true or something?
Research over me search. Prior to European colonization, throughout the African continent, we see far different, more relaxed attitudes towards sexual orientation and gender identity. As far back as 2400 BC, 2400 BC, before Europe.
That is a date. I gave a date right there. This is not an Instagram screenshot either. This is funny. And I didn't say nothing about existence. I said about the orientation and attitude towards homosexuality and gender identities was not what he said.
And the Arab invasion, colonization, all that right there. As far back as 2400 BC, tombs have been excavated in ancient Egypt with two men's bodies embracing each other as lovers. In addition to their acceptance of the same-sex relationship, ancient Egyptians, similar to other civilizations at the time, not only acknowledged a third gender, but venerated. Oh, but they're going to say, man, you only talking about Egypt, though, huh? I ain't talking about
Watch the cap, y'all. Listen to his cap.
No, I wasn't going to say that, but I was going to say it really would have been a big kick in the ass if I would have said homosexuality didn't exist in Africa at all. But I'm pretty sure I said it was not praised, and the rise of homosexuality came with how we understand English should let you know that homosexuality was there. So you found evidence of homosexuality. Great, but 2400 BC, that's actually a good time frame to pull up. Now, we could get into who the Egyptians really are and prior iterations before present-day terms, but that would be a whole different lesson. For the rest of the video, you seem to stress pre-colonial. You are also using screenshots from Instagram as credibility. These screenshots also do not have dates on them. Do not forget that Arab traders are not colonizers, so you cannot include them in the term pre-colonial. Arab traders first came to Africa, so they say, in 600, 700 BC.
He said that so-called, this argument is so-called, Arabs came into Africa 600, 700 BC. That's important. That's important. I'm gonna make a point-for-point refutation claim to that right there.
Could you explain the time frame on those Instagram screenshots?
Ladies and gentlemen, gender non-conforming people, gender fluid people, everybody, this is right here what I call an old school rhetorical ass whooping. This is right here what we call an old school rhetorical ass whooping. And sometimes grandma said, Lil George, because you know my real name is George. Sometimes, grandson, you gotta show them better than you can tell them. So in this conservative contradiction that he caught up in, but today we're getting into, conscious conversations. You see what I'm saying? It's homosexuality in Africa. Was it praised? That's the question I'm answering. Was it praised? Not that it exists. Was it praised? Coming out the gate, like I stated in my constructive speech, prior to the European colonization, throughout African continent, we see far different, more relaxed attitudes towards sexual orientation and gender identity. As far back as 2400 BC, class, according to my opponent, according to this young whippersnapper of mine, what did he credit Arabs for coming in for African in? He said 700, 600 BC, correct? Can we all acknowledge that 2400 BC comes before 600 BC? Can we imagine, right? As far back as 2400 BC, tombs have been excavated in ancient Egypt and of two men's bodies embracing each other. And there's my source, stonewall.org.uk. Why did this man point out and say that .org, .edu, you know those sources? And then the only sources he showed us was emails between professors. The semantics. Let's answer the semantics in this example that he gave, this distinction he tried to make between praise and extinction, right? He made a claim, right? This is a screenshot of the email that this man gave. This man coming to debate a professor with emails from another professor and said, well, these professors said X, Y, and Z. Let's read the underlying part. He said, I have raised this topic with African friends only to be told empathetically that homosexuality never existed among the Bantu. So first he's sensationalizing at the door. Consciously has hard of hearing. Notice, y'all, I said that homosexuality wasn't praised in Africa. I didn't say it didn't exist. He has hard of hearing. And then in his rebuttal to me, after he says I have hard of hearing and that he never said it didn't exist, he makes the claim that one, only to be told empathetically that homosexuality never existed amongst the Bantu. So we recognize that this man, King Kuza, you know what I'm saying? King of who, I don't know what we're talking about, but King Kuza is literally trying to universalize a claim from a goddamn email. And then listen, let's read the underlying part. Shout out to all my policy debaters. This right here is how you credit. This right here is how you quantify, how you check a source, how you actually, does your source say what you think it says? The underlying part says, my suspicion is that it probably did, but it was almost totally closeted. The New York Times recently had an article on the gay lesbian community in Zimbabwe. So in the end of his video, he's trying to trivialize me. Hey, did you have more than Instagram and screenshots? Do those screenshots have any dates on it? Sir, did you just use a source to make an argument that's not even supporting the claim that you say it is? That's interesting. But let's clear this up. I'm answering the argument, was it praised? Coming out the gate, I gave him 3 sources. I can tell later on. This is the book that I put in the video. This book came out in 1987. How many years before 1995? So I don't know if these professors are being intellectually lazy, if they lost in the sauce of European colonialism, and I don't know what they're getting into, but this author just happens to be arguing this. At a time when gender and queer theory are reviewed by some as being stuck in identity politics, this outstanding study not only warns against the danger of projecting a very specific Western notion of difference onto other cultures. I'm gonna repeat that because this is exactly what Yakuza did. Ain't it funny that I gave him a book that he could have read, but he decided to sensationalize that Professor Lee only had screenshots. I forget that book about male daughters and female husbands. So I forget that book. He ain't said about no book. But literally, his video at the end, he's this author in this book is warning us against what a lot of pro-black cisgender, people do. You feel me? A lot of, you know what I'm saying, Hebrew Israelite, King James was black, the covenant Deuteronomy, a lot of Hotep, Egypt, brother, we bet. A lot of y'all get lost in the sauce of colonialism and literally are projecting the danger, a Western notion of difference onto these cultures. That's a resource right there. There's a book. Let's get that cleared up. Let's keep on going. Now I'm going to answer this idea that I'm playing with time. The idea that I'm playing with time. So he asked the question, what is ancient? How ancient is Africa? Y'all see the source right there, .edu. You see that, you feel me? That is a university edu, you feel me? I don't know how we revolutionary and we have to quantify claims from institution of white people to be able to say it's a claim or not, but we can play that game though. Hey, Africa's first great civilization, it emerged in ancient Egypt in 34,000 BC. Carthage was founded by Phoenicians, and all we know when I'm talking about ancient Africa, I'm talking about I'm trying to capture the time span in history before the European colonialism, before Arab invasion, and I'm talking about going back as far as 34 BC. That's going to be important as well. So now I'm going to answer the question explicitly. When did the Arab trade start, and what were they trading? Because he tried to say, well, consciously, you know that you can't say Arab traders and Arab colonizers is the. Let's answer that. Let's answer that. Yet the Arab slave trade, a major component of African history, lasted more than 13 centuries. It began in the early 7th century. 7th century. Did I just read from something that came from 2400 BC? Okay. We see that it began in the early 7th century. Now, when you do your research and you see that other sources that try to center it around trade, you're going to see that they're going to push it back even further and say the 9th century is when Arabs first was able to have camels cross the Sahara. You see what I'm saying? So even if you want to go off of the claim of the idea of trade, it's still, the shit I'm about to present, it still predates that. But let's get into this. Let's get into these IG screenshots, man. The first example I gave was female husbandry. I want to point out the example of the source that backs up this old IG thing right here. It came from the book I just showed y'all. Female husbandry, one of the oldest queer practices found in over 40 African cultures in both ancient and contemporary Africa, which is a wealthy, powerful, influential woman who marries women. I'm gonna give y'all an example of one of that further in the PowerPoint too. But when we talk about, so why did consciously use this PowerPoint? I mean, why did consciously use this specific, a screenshot from IG? Matthew Blaze is a LGBTQ activist Nigerian in Nigeria that literally does put blood, sweat, and tears, not only into protecting, you feel me, his general welfare, but also in literally pushing scholarship, doing the research, not just the research, not just the feelings, but really getting into the facts. So when you try to trivialize what I put forth, it's almost like you insulted my intelligence. You don't think I thought about who I was getting this from and where it came from? And you don't think I already did the fact checks for this shit right here? And two, for the YouTube world, whoever want to have that smoke for consciously behind what I'm saying right now, I got time. You feel me? info@theconsciously.com. Get with my team. Your team, get with my team. You can pick when I speak, whether I speak first, whether I speak last, how long the speech points. I'm going to intellectually scrub the flow with you and then move on to the next one. You see what I'm saying? But let's get into more context of what female husbandry is. According to historian Professor Kenneth Nwako, PhD, woman marriage or female husbands was more pronounced than might be expected in Africa, where it occurred in over 30 societies. 30 societies. So what does it mean for Kuz to try to zero in into benign I'm gonna answer that question. I'm gonna answer the argument though, you know. And we see that including the Igbo, southeastern Nigeria, the Zulu or southern Africa, the Nuer of East Africa. It's also strong evidence of existence in 90 tribes of Kenya. So we see that throughout the continent of Africa, because Kuz literally brought up 2 examples of, you know what I'm saying, countries. And then I know I can just get myself. I get in. Here, because you know, education is elevation. You feel me? And you know what I'm saying? Why y'all be playing with me? You feel me? Why you be playing with me? You feel me? Why you be playing with me? You feel me? Why? Here are some examples of praised LGBTQ African royalty. You see me in the background, y'all. I see me in the background in the PowerPoint, looking like, you know I'm gonna answer, right? You know, when I get the time, because you know, now consciously get to do different things. You feel what I'm saying? But for you to really try to be like, man, you didn't respond to me in 4 videos, you're running from me. This is a direct response to praise, not extension assumption. You know what I'm saying? And it proves that you capping and that you're using straw man argumentation. Straw man argumentation, for y'all that don't know, is when your opponent responds to an argument that you never made. I want to be clear. I never made the argument that the LGBT community existed in Africa. My argument from the jump was that the attitudes and orientation towards LGBT community in ancient Africa is not what he says, and that he actually sees his own people through the eyes of the colonizer. As a matter of fact, for the rest of this PowerPoint and video, for the rest of these arguments, I'm saying in the big picture on the meta that if you believe you pro-black, your shit is really is white supremacy's pain and blackface, and you look at your own people through the lens of Eurocentrism. You see your people, especially if they have intimate ways of identifying themselves outside of what you believe, you see them through the eyes of the colonizer. Queen Nzinga. Queen Nzinga, 1583, 1633, ruled the kingdoms of Ngango, Matamba in the north and modern-day Angola. She assumed power after the death of her father and brother during the period of rapid growth in the slave trade. Nzinga led for 4 decades. Military resistance against Portuguese dominion and revered for her intelligence, military tactics, and diplomatic brilliance. But consciously, the black woman's always supposed to be behind men. Black women can't lead. Black women can't be warriors. Black women can't defend themselves. But consciously, but consciously, yeah, that's cap. Y'all is lost in the sauce of that shit that you got from that old Bible or from colonizers. That's what you lost in the sauce in. You ain't never heard of Queen Nzinga. How come you ain't never heard of Queen Nzinga? She would certainly transgress gender binaries, answering only to king, leading troops into battle and wearing both men's and women's clothes. Her female husbandry, I don't know why this part is in here, but she literally had female wives. She had female wives. Queen Nzinga. It was pointed out. Was it praised? And my argument is clear. Queen Nzinga was praised by her people so much they put their life on the line to literally be in resistance to European colonialism. For all intents and purposes, she was lesbian at the very least. Where is the cap? Oh man, we got another one. King Mugwaba II became the 32nd Kabaka of Uganda at age 16. He was openly gay or bisexual, a grave offense under the British Empire, who tried to convert him from his hedonistic, satanic ways. Now, though this video was about Africa, we can acknowledge that the colonizer took his very binary understandings and dualist understandings of gender and sexuality to every place that he colonized. So this idea that King Muwaba was being hedonistic or satanistic or being a savage or being a heathen, that same ideology was brought to the indigenous people of the Americas that said that, hey man, these folks right here is so primitive. They like practice these sexual this, that, and the other, and they used it to justify colonizing them. I want to be clear with that. The same arguments that people that be claiming to be pro-black, you claim to be against colonization, you claim to be against white supremacy, but then you use the same tactics, the same strategies, the same methods of relation of white supremacy to say that those people over there are irrational. They choose to be oppressed. Ooh, they choose to be alienated. They choose to be exposable and disposable. Don't that sound familiar, y'all? It's not that same ideology used to put us in captivity, is it? Or ain't it? Ain't it? All right, bet. Back to defending them screenshots, because this is really what I'm arguing right here from the jump, and it's literally like, in terms of debate, it's like you got to know what you got going on. You feel me? I'm arguing to you that the affairs of the Mudako Dako during the pre-colonial times among the Langi people of northern Uganda, effeminate males known as Mudako Dako were treated as women and could carry men. So when I'm talking about affairs or talking about somebody's, a spiritual system, are you saying that the invaders or the colonizers gave that to them? So even by your perspective, even by his, a standard that he said in this debate, he said that the Arabs didn't get he lied though. But even if you go up in this, you feel me? Arabs didn't come into Africa until 600, 700 BC. That's what he's talking about, right? My source right here, you know what I'm saying? My source, they come from DeJean Christina and Eric Long, the death penalty as genocide and persecution of homosexuals in Uganda. It takes me right into answering his arguments. Come on, Cools. This is an answer to how can they make something legal that's already legal? How can you say that the white man brought the homophobia to Africa, but they the one made it colony? They the ones that made it legal. Just like he tried to trick y'all at the beginning of the video and being like, hey, consciously misheard me. He said, he acting like I said it didn't exist. I said it was praise. And then you use the argument you make to say this person said it didn't exist. Now you're trying to say, and in the example right here, this is a screenshot he used. In the original video that we already seen, he's putting this in the context of the prison system. The association of homosexuality as something Western is echoed throughout ex-Commonwealth, particularly in African and Caribbean nations. For many who had their lives and culture stripped away from them by British, Westernness is treated to be with the suspicion, and it's essential to be held on to any part of themselves or their culture can. This is also an extension of what the author of the Male Daughters is saying about imposing Western values. Now let's look into the screenshot. This screenshot is about the penal code system that the people in Benin had imposed onto them. Let's read it. Same-sex sexual acts are legal in Benin between consenting adults over the age of 21. The penal code in force in Benin is actually the penal code of the French West African adopted by the French colonial decree. So when you ask the question, how can they make something legal that's illegal? My brother, man, they didn't care about any of their cultural ways. They brought in a specific penal code. That penal code is what institutionalized or made legal homosexuality. So the idea, in my mind, I think that you insulted the intelligence of a lot of your followers, and you showed that you don't think they got critical thinking skills. In the video that you played, I'm literally playing and you saying, yeah, the Europeans brought this prison system in. That's what you said. Now all of a sudden you're gonna try to use this source, you feel me? Wikipedia at that. But use this source to try to say, oh, yeah, the white man brought it in. But even if you think that's not a good enough answer to the argument, look at the diversity in the map that he showed when he tried to say, well, consciously, here's a map of all of the countries that still have homosexuality illegal. Yeah, Cools. But look at the countries that also have homosexuality legal. Look at the diversity within the continent of Africa of all those different countries. Look at it. While many of the countries under British rule are now independent, majority who still criminalize homosexuality, including Jamaica, Uganda, have carried over these laws from the colonial era. Generations later, many Africans now believe that anti-gay attitude is one that is a part of their culture, so much that former Zimbabwean President Mugabe labeled homosexuality as a white disease. So what does this say when it comes to thinking about gender through the lens of the colonizer? It says that whether you are in America or whether you're in Africa, colonialism is really so deep and really ingrained in us in different ways that certain people cannot see our people outside of the lens of the colonizer. Damn, you love your people, but you only can see your people through the appreciation and credibility of what Massa and what colonizer said. That's wild to me. And this so we clear. This proves how surface level, how flat, how static, how monolithic he's trying to make the continent of Africa. Them emails from professors, it ain't it. I'm a professor. I know in terms of debate, if we have an argument, I'm not going to be able to pull to you some screenshots that I had with a colleague. That's not pure edited scholastic scholarship, my brother. That's not, you know what I mean? I feel like I know I said scholastic scholarship. I doubled that one, you know what I'm saying? But that's how I know what I am with this. Let's get into this butt breaking shit. To the people in the back. And this is the part right here, I hope they go. This is the part that I would love to go viral right here. This is the part that I would love to go viral. Shout out to Push Black. We're working on a series, you feel me, a debunking series about the Willie Lynch letter. So I'm going to say this right here. This is a direct response to, Constantly, I know you're making that face. You trying to act like butt breaking didn't exist? Make this clear. The assault of man in the fabricated Willie Lynch letter is not the origin of homosexuality in the Black community. I'm going to repeat that. The assault of men in the fabricated Willie Lynch letter is not the origin of homosexuality in the Black community. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go a step further. Even in today's time, if a man is assaulted by another man, that does not dictate that man's sexuality. It just means now they have been assaulted. They are a victim of assault. Yeah, man, y'all be camping. Number one, there's 3 points to this shit. Number one, queerness wasn't imposed on Africans, man. Homophobia and transphobia was brought and imposed onto Africans via enslavement and colonization. Number two, both boys and girls are statistically more likely to be sexually abused by men. So the reasoning that the gender of the abuser dictates the sexuality isn't backed by no research, no data, no evidence. There's no conclusive evidence that sexual assault determines sexuality. So this idea that because you can point out that our ancestors was abused and used by their captors, by their enslavers, it does not prove what you think it proves. All it shows is that you probably don't understand consent. And it shows that you don't understand body autonomy. You know? Number three. Last point on this right here, this Willie Lynch butt breaking, you feel me? And two, I'm acknowledging. Yes, it existed. Yes, we were assaulted. Yes, we were assaulted by the people that enslaved us, the people that colonized us. Yes, that did not dictate our orientation. Many LGBTQ plus have been assaulted because they're LGBTQ plus. It isn't the other way around. What I'm giving y'all is I'm exemplifying, I'm illustrating point refutation, not facial expression refutation. I'm showing you point refutation and not just making up a whole bunch of shit about confusion based off of my facial expressions. And to be clear, that look that he called confusion, it was disgust and disagreement. Discuss and disagreement. In rhetoric, in debate, refutation is the part of an argument in which a speaker or writer counters opposing points of view, also called confutation. Refutation is a key element in debate. They come from the little debate, you know what I'm saying, little debater's guide, you feel me? If you want to learn how to debate, if you want to increase your knowledge about Africa and about the LGBT community outside of European context, and also increase your ability to say what you mean and mean what you say in terms of debate. This is a great little illustration for you to show some students or for you to keep in for yourself. He had more to say about my facial expressions than he had my arguments. I want to be clear. I gave three sources. I gave you a journal / article. I gave you a book, and I gave you screenshots. What did he choose to zoom in, sensationalize, and trivialize those screenshots? Why didn't he respond to the book? I don't know if y'all know how debate works, but just because you don't respond to an argument, it doesn't mean the argument wasn't made. Just because you mishandle the argument, it doesn't mean the argument doesn't have an impact. So now we're getting into impact. What he's trying to argue is if the ancestors said these folks was exposable and disposable, it must mean they're exposable and disposable now. Look, these profs said in the email talking about the New York Times, they agree with me. He's trying to argue that homosexuality is a tool of Arab traders and the European colonizers in Africa. He's trying to argue that homosexuality is a tool of Arab traders and European colonizers in Africa. My argument in response to that is homophobia is the legacy of colonialism in Africa. That's my argument. And my argument says that we have to look at the multiplicity and the diversity of the entire continent of Africa and not try to just universalize one idea or the one that you, okay, this country right here must have, man, this is literally what Kuzma did. I'm finna go back and read this shit for benign because I think it backs up my trans homo negative ways of me being able to say middle finger to my own people. That's really what it did. You feel me? And I don't think that's real. I don't think you can say you stand for blackness and black people and then you actively choose to exclude them, choose to disrespect them, choose to literally push ideology, philosophy, and theory that says you don't mean nothing. You don't mean nothing now. You ain't mean nothing then. This man literally got on TikTok with his whole chest and saying, when we gonna stop acting like the European boy lovers that bring that shit in here? Come on, man. And y'all really was tagging me in this shit, acting like it was really just that. Disappointed, man. Disappointed. You know? Education is elevation. Research over me search. I gave you the resources. I gave you the time. I told you, I gave you everything that you asked for. You said, when did the Arab trade start? You said, what's the distinction between Arab colonizers and Arab traders? I told you what they was trading. They was trading people. You said, hey, man, I never said it didn't exist, but then you had these screenshots from professors saying it never existed. You know? So, hey, man. I'm just, an email away. This it right here. Done data. TheConsciously.com. I do workshops, facilitations, motivational speaking, curriculum development. You know what I'm saying? Holla at me. I guess, what parts did I miss? What parts did I miss? Say BDA says both Lee and the other guy's wrong. So-called homophobia, transphobia is a natural response and has nothing to do with colonization. To you, I say you have been indoctrinated so much that you believe that what has been normalized is what has been natural, is what's natural. So though I presented to you resource after resource after resource that shows you that there are different tribes that did not think that homophobia or transphobia was natural, you still have the cognitive dissonance to say, I don't care about none of that research this man just showed me. That shit natural. Yeah, you lost in the sauce of colonization. That was easy. that was. I hope we got some better than. I hope we got. Is there any other things that you know what I'm saying? Is there anything? And too, this to be clear, man. I don't understand Korean. I don't know Mandarin. I don't understand it. I know it exists. You see what I'm saying? I can acknowledge it. Then because you feel like you don't understand something, don't mean it don't exist. And two, it's because you don't understand something don't mean it's not being praised.
Yeah. Cool. COE. Cool. This for anyone who thought I'd ever fall off. 50 points with no assist, bitch, I'm a ball hog. I got millionaires all inside my call out. If you don't like me, bitch, delete me, nigga, log off. That go for all y'all. I mean, damn, dub. I'm saying, dub.